Hey everybody, and welcome back to Coffin Talk, Interviews with the Living, a weekly podcast that explores how our views on death affect the way we live our life. This week our guest is a well-traveled expatriate from not the United States, but his own country and culture. So his name is Marc Alcobe Tallo, and he's a UX UI designer, originally from Barcelona, Spain, who moved to Germany for work in 2018. He met his partner there, but then they moved to Athens, Greece for 3 years, and they've now relocated to Bologna, Italy. So in addition to work and family time, Marc also hosts a podcast, because why not? And it's called Expat Experts, and it's a great podcast. I've been on it, and I've listened to a few. And he's also a semi-professional futsal player, which is an indoor 5-against-5 soccer that we don't really have here in the United States, but we'll perhaps get into that. For now, though, let's just meet Marc. Marc, how's it going?
Perfect. What an introduction. Thanks for having me here. Yeah, I think it will come. Futsal will arrive definitely to the United States. I mean, soccer, it's starting to arrive there. And then when you see that you can have indoor and smaller version with less resources and less people, you will get it for sure. It's kind of the thing. And in South America, it's a big deal. So I suppose it will go up. So for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And actually, I was like an impressionable teenager. I was 13 when the World Cup first came here in 1994. So I got into soccer then. And there's not a lot of us. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm into it like, diehard, but enough that I like it. And I've watched every subsequent World Cup. And then it's now coming back this year. So, well, next. Yeah.
True.
So that should bring even more interest, especially to the younger generation. And then the last thing I'll say on this, the young generation here tends to skew in favor of like Europe and European kind of stuff. So I think also that'll help. Less South America, more Europe, but since, football's prominent in both. So that's probably the most sports I've ever talked on the show, because my audience is not, I am a huge sports fan, so I could go off all day. And we actually already went over one of the questions, which is where did you grow up? But you can just repeat it for our audience's information. But I always ask every guest, how old are you? Where did you grow up? And what generation, if any, do you consider yourself a member of?
So I'm 31 right now. I grew up 20 kilometers away from Barcelona, let's say. It's a city called Sabadell, an old industrial city from the textile industries, let's say like this. And my parents had me there. We lived there I grew up there until I was 16 or 17. And then I moved to Barcelona for studies. So I studied already the preparation for university. We have like 2 years, which I did already in Barcelona. Then I studied university in Barcelona. And then as soon as I got the option, I left to Germany, but that's another story.
We're going to get into that story.
Regarding generation, I think I'm a bookmark millennial, late millennial probably. I mean, still remember growing up a little bit, or part of my growing up, without technology, but it hit it very, very fast. Let's say like this. It started like with the Blackberries, and as soon as we had Messenger and computers and everything, which evolved very, very fast. But yeah, I think I would say that from my teenage already was with a computer on under my arm and on a cell phone on the other hand. So yeah, definitely a millennial, I would say.
That's cool. Do you think adapting to technology at a youngish age, like teenage years, helped you embrace other cultures, or do you think that's more like your actual just personality?
I mean, my dad used to work in the technology environment, so he used to program in Excel, which is something that sounds strange. But so I kind of grow up already with a little bit of technology around. So I always had a laptop at home. And definitely, I don't know if in the sense of meeting other cultures. Of course, the podcast, I wouldn't be producing the podcast at the level that I'm producing if I wasn't in touch with technology at the young age, but definitely professionally wise, like being a UX UI designer has been, and being a product designer in the digital world, definitely it's related with my passion for digital environments since I was a teenager. As I said, I start touching around. I start trying to code things. I start trying to understand how this whole world of the internet and the technology around it works. And also try to be, I don't know if always up to date, but knowing what was happening in the technology environment. And besides, I actually studied product design, and I specialized myself in furniture design, which is a very analog thing.
Wow.
At the end, when I finished my career, I was already so into digital design that I said, I don't know, I studied it, the methodology and the process might be similar, but my world, it's definitely the digital one, especially those one that you can control Z things. That's where I feel comfortable. In the real world with the analog things, you cannot control Z bad decisions, but
Yeah.
in the digital one, you survive. So yeah, definitely it affected my life. Yeah, absolutely.
How do you feel about and this is like a wide open question, but because you're an expert and you're like a very heartfelt person, and I say this because again, you've interviewed me and I've met you. So for people listening, I didn't just decide in 2 minutes of meeting Mark that he's a heartfelt person, but he is, and he has a passion for people and cultures and things. So like a lot of people in tech also have that passion. It's not rare, but the negative reverse stereotypes of tech culture would before the 90s and 2000s was less like social, but now technology is really social. Like it's, if anything, it's a whole new era of sociability. So I'm curious, do you have ethical concerns about the people who design technology, or do you think it's just like any other profession? I'm just curious because you're embedded in it.
No, I mean definitely there is an ethical part of it. Like when you are involved in any of these environments. I mean, I had the example when they sent me to Germany. I work for one of the biggest banks there. Being a person who doesn't believe that much in certain types of products of the banks exist and they are there, and they there is a way of monetization in this world that we live at the end, but certain products are dangerous if you don't know what to do. And as a designer, I had my ethical dilemmas at some point. No, I'm
Wow.
designing a very nice illustration for saying, oh, grab this mortgage and you will be super cool. Like, no, it's not a nice thing to sell. So definitely you have ethical dilemmas while not even developing, which I assume that the developers will also have. But
Mhm.
for me, especially when you are involved in product designing digital, where you are deciding what is important or not inside of a digital product, yeah, there is a lot of ethical questions. Like right now, I'm happy that I'm in an open source environment with a lot of data privacy concerns, with the idea of like trying to have alternatives to the big technology medias. In a company called Open Source, which Open Project, which is also open source, which I'm really happy because I don't have these dilemmas, ethical dilemmas anymore. So yeah, definitely. I mean, I assume depends a lot on the person, no? Because
Mhm.
everyone has their own ethic and with its own limits inside of what it's in the ethic or of what you can do and what not. But in my case, definitely, I had moments in my career where I said, should I be designing this really? Do I want to be here? I don't
Mhm.
know. Do I want to be working for Mordor, as I used to call it, or do I want to be doing something a little bit more? I don't know, more aligned with my thoughts and my way of being. Yeah, of course.
That's cool. For anyone listening who didn't catch that, he's referencing the Lord of the Rings evil empire. So, and I got it. It wasn't that you didn't say clearly. I just, I know my mom, for one, who listens to these sometimes, she would never get that joke. And I think it was a very good one. And it kind of segues nicely into a more of a background question for you, which is, were you raised with any sort of like religious or ethical imperatives? Did you have any sort of like upbringing that spiritually affected you? Hey everyone, if you're a fan of the show, please head over to mikeyop.com and click the subscribe button. It's the best way to support us, and it's free. That's MIKEYOPP.com. Thanks.
Race, definitely not. I'm not even baptized. So in a country like Spain or Italy or like these big ex-Catholic countries that now are atheist, and during the 90s, I wasn't one of the common kids, let's say, that was baptized and had done the communion on the Christian church and everything, and
Mhm.
passed through the whole process, like majority of the kids in my school. So yeah, definitely, I didn't have that influence. My parents decided that if I wanted to have any beliefs in anything, it's something that I would need to choose by myself at a later point. Let's say like this. Um, and no, to be honest, I never found myself in a situation, probably luckily, where I needed to had the belief on something bigger than my ethics and my work, and belief on society, on causes, on fights to bring this world to a little bit to be a little bit better, or what I believe to be a little bit better. So no, I've always been a, let's say, a rational person, or more, I don't know if rational is the correct word for this, but rather more like the scientific approach into things. So very based on science and very based on my own beliefs of what it's good and what it's bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if you're actually directly referencing rationalism, which is like a movement that was certainly popular in Europe, but I think scientific, materialist, realist, like these terms, they all translate well into our culture. So I think I follow you. So then I guess that kind of leads us into the pivotal question of the podcast, which is what do you think happens when you die? And I'm curious if that's ever changed in your life.
It did a lot, actually. And probably that's the only moment where I felt more connected to beliefs of other people. Let's say like this. I'm right now in a moment that I see death as the end. Say it like this. Like, I don't think that there is much more afterwards. I see that death is more a thing that remains for those who are living than for the person who goes away. To be honest, it's more like the memory, the emotions, the whole process of feeling and being sad at the moment that it happens, or the happy of remembering good memories when you are a little bit more in the time distance to that death, for example. So I transitioned to believe that that is something more for those who stay rather than for the person who goes away. Because again, as I said, being a very scientific person, I think that at the end the body goes. But at the same time, it's true that it's the biggest question, no? Like when you come from a scientific perspective, what happens to your conscious, and what happens to your soul, and what happens to your yourself, not the body that contains you, no? Let's say like this. Nobody can prove that, and that's what it makes death both scary and, I don't know, emotional, and I don't know, it has this spiciness of like saying what's going on in there, you know, like, and as a person who wants and likes and loves discovering things, like, I mean, I'm not saying that I would like to discover death, but but I'm intrigued to know what is behind it. The problem is that as nobody can really find that out, I don't know, I find it as an emptiness, but I really, really consider it as a, for now and in the current moment that I am, for the person who passed away, it's the end and that's it, and it's just the memories for the people who stayed. I kind of thought about this question before, of
No,
course,
that's
like
good. Yeah.
I listened to your podcast, so I knew that this was coming, and there was a moment in my life that I don't know if it was naive or being a kid or I was happy about it, and there was this, maybe at the mid teenager time, or being just 18, 17, 18, 16, let's say like this, where I was, I don't know, I started thinking about the idea of like spirits and if they exist or not exist. I didn't go too much into research or detail on it. And there was this moment in my life that I thought, wow, when somebody dies, what happens is what that person thought it will happen in the moment that they
Yeah,
died.
yeah. I like that.
And and it, I don't know, it sounds very naive, but I don't know, it was just like, okay, you believe in I don't know, in heaven. Okay, good for you. You believe that you are going to, you're going to heaven. You believe that you are just like a regeneration for the earth and for becoming food for the plants. Good for you. You become that. No, so there was a moment in my life that to show you that it transitioned also my idea of what death is. What I believe really, like, okay, I think that is just what people want it to be. And maybe it's not that much not on our control. It's totally in our control, probably. I don't know. We don't know. So why not opening the door of, no, we are really in control of what happens after death. So yeah, that was a thought for a couple of years, which was interesting, I think.
No, I think that's very interesting. I actually love that. It also somehow makes sense to me, and it ties into something you said earlier, which I want to ask you if you
Mhm.
meant to or not meant to, and if you see a difference. But you mentioned consciousness, and then you said and a soul, and you said and I always want to play with this just because for me it's fascinating. Do you feel like inside Mark is, or not inside, that's too direct. Do you feel like Mark has both a soul and consciousness, or do you think the two are related? Like, how do you explain that to yourself?
I think like everything in this in a human body, everything is related. So at the end, your soul is connected to your body. Your body is related to your conscious. No, like when you lose consciousness, your body doesn't react. Also
Yeah.
speakingly scientifically pure on that. What happens to the soul when you lose consciously? It's the part that it's interesting because you don't know.
I love
And
it.
when you sleep, you are not conscious anymore. Your body it's not reactive anymore, but you have no idea if your soul is there, the one who is producing the dreams. And it's
Yeah.
yes, of course, it's treating the soul as an entity that exists inside of a body, or treating it as a reaction of your brain between neurons. It's you can phrase it scientifically or more metaphorically if you want, but there is something happening in your brain even when your body and your conscious is inactive. So this is happening. It's scientifically demonstrated that we dream. You know that you dream because sometimes you remember these dreams. So
Yeah.
and your conscious is not there. Your body is not there. So yes, they are connected, but at the same time, for me, it's separate entities. Yeah.
That was a fantastic answer. I would think that I had written you the question ahead of time and you planned that answer. That was so good. So thank you. That was exactly the kind of thing. First of all, I want to know if other people are thinking these thoughts, and I want to know how they're thinking them, because to me, that also is a mystery. Is like, is everyone else as confused yet curious as I am? Is everyone else like, happy to be here? Like you said, like I don't want to find out what happens when you die. I totally want to know what happens when you die. Like there's this like
Yes,
weird
exactly.
duality. Yeah. So and then because you're a product designer and because you work in these fields, I'm curious with this emerging. I'm going to use Mark Zuckerberg's term, but it's just to make a placeholder for the audience. The metaverse, this idea of like a world that isn't actually real, but you're hanging out there and it feels real. And his goal stated is to bring people into the metaverse. He thinks like there's a great world awaiting us, and you can wear VR headsets and all that. I'm curious if you think we are kind of headed there, like based on your age and people younger than you and all that, and B, if you have thoughts on that and the idea of like a virtual reality versus this reality, which, as we just kind of talked about, could be virtual in itself.
I think the virtual reality, as we understand it right now, it's something that it's going into. Okay, you lose the context of your world, but that already existed. Like a video game, Haribo Hotel, or like this, The Sims, the game of The Sims, that it was basically becoming an avatar of another person and doing a life. That's already what metaverse of Zuckerberg is trying to create in that sense. The only thing is that he's trying to bring it at the point where everything in your life can happen in there. So you can work in that environment. Until now, something that it was more related to a hobby or to, I don't know, your recreative time, your own free time. You can do whatever you want in this, I don't know, in this world of Call of Duty or FIFA or whatever, and you become the best football player in the world. And I'm saying a lot of things about video games because for me, it is important to understand that virtual reality as a concept of virtual reality. If you immerse yourself in a book and you believe that you are living that book, that's kind of a virtual reality. For me, the world might be going into virtual reality, but I don't think it will work for everyone. So I'm seeing from the inside and from the perspective of someone who works close to this technology, and from the design perspective, much more close world with augmented reality. And we are talking about, you already have, I don't know, Ray-Ban Meta glasses, for example. Soon they will release the Vision Apple glasses, the second version, which is much more slim, and it looks, I don't know, from the leakage that they have from technology, I don't know exactly how they will look, but it looks like it will look like a normal glasses that can have the whole functionalities of your cell phone. So for me, we are not ready, and we will never be ready to walk around the streets. We are still needing to be connected to the environment that surrounds us, because if you're fully disconnected, you crash against the next wall.
Mm-hmm.
If you are able to, okay, mm, I don't know, you see that you have a message from your partner and you say, okay, we meet in the supermarket instead of that. And by voice control, you say to your glasses, show me where is the next supermarket, and it guides you through the real streets. That's a whole different story. You're still in the context of where you are, and the layer that technology is bringing on top of you, it's serving you instead of you serving it. It's a whole enormous topic, the whole thing of who serves who, and
Yeah.
and we could be talking about hours, so I don't think we have time about for it. But I think really that we are going more into the augmented reality rather than the virtual reality. Of course, we need to consider that these things already exist, and I don't know if you talk about the Ray-Ban Meta, for example. This is a tool that, for example, impaired visibility users,
Oh
it's
yeah. Yeah.
it's gold. It's
Yeah.
gold. It's like you can tell, hey, describe me what is in front of me, and it will tell you in exact detail. Here, there is a person in front of a microphone doing probably a podcast interview. He's wearing a green T-shirt. The other guy is wearing a black. It's describing everything for impaired vision users. It's incredible. So let's not diminish also the advantages that these things can bring into society, because there is users that might need that in the future.
Mark, you're such a nice guy. See, okay, I proved it to you, audience. He's heartfelt. Like that was like such a good answer. I really appreciated that. One of the reasons I like talking to tech people, and I'm calling you that just because that's my colloquial term. It's not a negative or pejorative, just in case. I don't know. There's weird people in my culture that like might hear that differently, but it's always refreshing because I have never met any of you who don't have concerns and care and your own life, your own personal life, and memories and visions and goals and stuff. So it's very helpful for me to interview and talk to you because I'm like a writer and like that like complete other type of human, but I still share your heart, your goals, and I share the experience of traveling a lot, which I do want to ask you about before we wrap up the interview. I think my first and only question that's more about being the host of your podcast than it is about you would be, after interviewing as many expatriates as you have, what is like something you're willing to say we all have in common, if any? Besides living in another country, obviously.
I think that the biggest common point that you have when you arrive to another place is that you are lost.
I love it.
And that the differentiation that we are having nowadays and the whole discussion that we are having between what it's an expat, what is an immigrant, what it's a, I don't know, a person who was forced to move to a refugee. The point that you have in common when you arrive to a place is that probably you don't know anyone. You don't know the language, or if you are lucky, you know it. You barely know the culture, or what you know about that culture, probably it's the stereotypes of that culture. So I think that we should be working a little bit more together into the direction of embracing that people who arrive to a new place, into a new culture, can adapt to that culture. And unfortunately, in the expat environment, there is a lot of people who travel, have a lot of money, and then they live in English, and they don't want, and they don't even try to adapt to this culture. But definitely, the common thing that it happens to everyone is that you are lost. So maybe if you grab these persons from the very beginning with the hand and say, "Hey, welcome to Barcelona," or "Welcome to Bologna." I know you speak English. I also speak English, but here we do this, that, and that. Bring them to the best restaurants or to try the best food or try the best wine. That person maybe inclines themselves to integrate a little bit more. I definitely see that there is need for people who arrive to new people to integrate in a better way, but there is also need for the locals and for the, especially not the locals itself because they are burnt up, but the systems to find ways of integrating these people better and faster and in a more round way. Because the common thing that everyone I interviewed in my podcast has is that in the moment that they arrived there, they were lost. Even if they went with a partner who was a local, they still have missed their family. They still don't speak the language exactly. They still have insecurities. They still need to pass the bureaucracy of doing an ID card, doing the whole thing that you need to do in every country that you arrive. You have no idea how to do it. So maybe you have more support if you have a partner from there or a friend or whatever, and that's the key for majority of the people who stay longer, knowing locals and knowing people to that. So yeah, I would love to see some kind of way of facilitating that to everyone when they move.
Wow, that's cool. And yeah, like so you've moved for work related reasons to three different countries, correct? Well, from Spain to Germany to now Italy, correct? Oh no, you were in Greece too. So yeah,
Yeah,
so four total. And
kind of. I transitioned.
okay,
I
got it.
moved from Barcelona to Germany for work.
Hmm.
They called me when I was in Barcelona working. They brought me to Germany. They provided like everything, house, meals, flights back home. It was like the kind of bundle pack of you're working abroad.
Hmm.
Then I met my girlfriend, my partner, who is German,
Oh, okay.
but she's an archaeologist. At the
Oh
point of time
wow.
that they gave her the job, I was already working fully remote, which is what's allowed me to follow her to Greece.
Okay.
We lived
Okay.
there because of her job, not because of mine. And now Bologna, it's the first time that we choose. Actually, we decided we
Ha.
have some years of freedom before
Yeah.
building family, building more, establish more a final spot of life, let's say like this. And we said, okay, I wanted to perfectionate my Italian, which I had it a little bit rusty, but I love the country, I love Bologna as a city. So yeah, we said, okay, well, let's try it out for some years. So I passed through the circle of I went for work, I followed my girlfriend because of work, and now it's the first time that we move for fully our decision. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And actually, that was going to be one of my final questions to ask you is um, not how do you and your partner discuss it, but more like, do you have a plan for like where to finally settle down? Because that was when I lived in Thailand, it was with my previous wife, and we're divorced now.
Mhm.
But it wasn't the divorce didn't have to do with. I mean, maybe it did, but it wasn't like fighting over that so much as um, we were always weirded out by the fact that one of us felt at home and one didn't, no matter which country we lived in. So I'm curious, like, do you guys think the path to peace is a country neither of you are from, or do you think it's more likely that you'll end up in Germany or Spain?
It's the biggest question in our
Yeah,
lives right
okay, fair
now,
enough.
probably. So
Sorry.
no, absolutely right. I mean, it's a good question. That's
Yeah.
why we are questioning it so much and revisiting it so much. I think we have more clear the places where we don't want to live for all our life than the places where we would like to live more permanently, like say like this. Um, no, I think we are in a case where we luckily uh, have a strong relationship in that sense that wherever we go, we kind of adapt and the relation doesn't change that much, or it adapts. Of course, it grows up, it changes as any relation, but independent a little bit of the place that we lived in. So that give a little bit of base to the whole discussion. So no, the response is we don't have a clear idea where it will be. Um, we we will find out. Like
Yeah,
we decided that for now it will be 2 3 years here
cool.
in Italy, and then we will reopen that discussion once we pass the time here and enjoy the time here. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I kind of wanted to ask you, but I don't even know if it's rude anymore. Like, so feel free, I can edit this or
Go for
whatever.
it.
Do you have anything growing up in Barcelona? Do you have any opinions about like Catalonia and like the politics of that? I'm more asking like for education purposes. It's not that I politically have an opinion. I taught ESL for many years and I would teach many people from Barcelona. And I was always fascinated by the fact that most Americans have no clue that that's even going on, let alone San Sebastian. And like, so it's interesting to learn about separation movements and all that. So I don't know.
Mhm. Well, do you have an hour more? No, no. uh, no, I'm happy to respond. I mean, the situation it's complex and it's not easy to understand. It's a lot of history and there is a lot of tension going on for a lot of years. So it's not easy to summarize in a quick way. But the easy summary for me and without entering into much detail, it's that Spain it's a very multicultural country. Like you go from one part of the peninsula to another, and the culture, the language, the way of being and doing, it's not exactly the same. So the idea that they sell in marketing that everything is paella, sevillanas, and people dancing and drinking beer uh, doesn't apply because majority of these things are from different places of the peninsula, so they don't even coexist between them. um, what happened in there is that Spain, and especially the Spanish government, and I'm not saying that the Spanish people it's like that 100%, try to create an idea, and especially during the dictatorship of Franco, this idea of everything is a single culture adapted and everything needs to be Spain because it's Spain and it's indivisible, no? Um, which that even tensioned a little bit more the tension that it already exists between Spain as a country and as a government and as a dictatorship back in the day, and those movements that were independentist in the different regions of Spain, which is not only Catalonia. The interesting part for me in Catalonia is that majority of the separation movements that we've seen here in Europe comes from the right wing, while generically the independentist movements in Spain come from the left one, the left wing, and that's what it makes them even more difficult to understand or to comprehend, especially now that the right wing appropriated also of this. Especially in Catalonia, the last years, they are taking advantages that there was a lot of people following the movement. So the right wing movements and the right wing parties also entered that. And as good demagogues as they normally are, took advantage of it. So I see that the independentist movement of Catalonia would never arrive to the point of the voting of the illegal referendum that we did in 2018 without the right getting involved. Somehow.
Wow.
But they changed the whole dynamics of what it was, the independentist movement. Like for people like me who was involved since a lot of years in politics and being part of the discussions of the independentist movement, but also about other things, Marxism, feminism, etc., etc. It changed a lot during the last years. For us, it was a historical protection of the culture, protection of the language, protection of heritage, protecting them, Catalonia itself, about constant or certain attacks from Spain regarding, I don't know, killing Catalan as a language or killing cultural parts. That's for me what it was important when the right wing entered this table, let's say like this, and transformed the whole discussion into an economical political discussion. It switched. Like when every reason that you have it's money, I'm not part of that anymore. I mean, I'm still in favor of it, but I would never, ever, ever separate a region or do independence only and solely because you believe that you can win money out of it. I think that's as stupid as you can be.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. This may be hard to relate, or maybe it's really easy for you, but that is sort of a subtext of the American conversations right now about like politics and secession and stuff. And it's funny because I think a lot of people don't see that. And I am one of those people sometimes. And so what you said helps me because usually it's just big money pushing for something now. And I don't think that was the case. So thank you. That was incredibly nice of you because I always fumble around with these conversations with tact and all that, but I am curious, and the only way to know is to talk to people from there, not people from Madrid. Like I'm not as interested in what they would think. So thank you. And finally, just to wrap up the podcast, I always give my guests the floor to just share any sort of like spiritual or cultural message they want to pass on to my audience. So is there anything you'd like to tell them?
Yeah, I mean, I think I give a little bit of glimpse and touches here and there. We are going to a globalized world that everyone has kind of common things, but everyone is killing each other. So it's scary at the same time. Like a lot of the things are going to very badly, very, very badly. And you're seeing that politics are going to hell, that countries are behaving like nobody should do, that there is madmen, because they are really madmen, going on and having too much power in this world. So my reflection is, if you never stand up for the rights until now, probably it's the moment to do it. So let's grab things, because the only way of changing stuff is society standing up for what it's good. That's it.
Wow, that's not a that's it. That's a mic drop moment. Marc, thank you so much. This has been a fantastic interview. I was excited to talk to you again. And again, I want to thank you just live on the air for having me on your podcast. That's always, I don't know, it just makes me feel great to be included in part of your project. So thank you for returning the favor and coming on our show. To everyone listening at home, once again, you've been listening to Marc Alcobe Tallo. You can find him and his podcast, The Expat Experts. You can find a link through the actual essay service that I do at mikeyup.com. I'll also be posting clips with his links and all that. So be sure to check him out in his podcast, especially if you liked the conversation towards the end of the podcast about cultures and all that, because that's really essentially what he gets into, and he's great at it. So thank you again, Marc, for coming on the show. Thank you to everyone for listening. Once again, my name is Mike Oppenheim. You have been listening to or watching Coffin Talk, and we will see you soon.